So the next thing we'll look at with the mortgage is your refinancing and interest rate differential. So, and I put this on here because I actually think this is a fairly likely exam question, and this might counter what I told you before about memorization. So what we're going to see here is that if you are refinancing most mortgage contracts, now there's some variability here, but most mortgage contracts will assess the greater of your interest rate differential, or 3 months of interest on the mortgage, okay, if you're canceling early. And really that's what it is, or exiting early, we'll say, okay? So your 3 months interest is easy, right? So if it's the 3 months interest calculation, you're just going to take whatever interest you would pay over 3 months, that's your penalty. That's pretty straightforward, okay? The interest rate differential is a little more complicated. And what you really have to do here, I would be surprised to see a full-on calculation for this, okay? Because you have to know a whole bunch of underlying numbers. Instead, I think the exam would sort of paint a scenario for you where you have to recognize what the interest rate differential means. And really what it is, it's where we're going to say, what interest have you paid to this point? It's very much like a market value adjustment on a GIC for what that's worth. So what interest have you paid to this point versus what would you have paid if you took a mortgage with a term equal to essentially today, okay, the point at which you're canceling, and you're going to pay that differential. Okay, does that make sense? And so when you have a refinancing discussion with a client, you have to figure out then whether, first off, whether you're going to have the 3 months interest or whether you're going to have the IRD. Now, I will point out, with a variable rate mortgage, which of these are we using? Right, so with variable rate, we're doing the 3 months calculation. It's only on fixed rate that we have to do the IRD calculation. I'll say almost always, not necessarily 100%, but variable rate almost always uses the 3 months, okay? You could theoretically do an IRD on variable rate, but it would be a weird calculation to do. Okay, that's good. All right, then we look at fixed and variable rate mortgages, and this, I would say, used to be a bigger deal, right? We can sort of look through, especially from about 1995 to about 2015, when we had a fairly significant spread between fixed and variable rate mortgages. Today, pretty tight spread here, isn't it? And in fact, not even a sure thing that variable rate is cheaper than fixed rate. I know that depending on exactly when you, just give me a second, Trevor. I might need to lean on somebody else here. I honestly don't remember. Can you refinance your refinancing charges? Yes, I believe you can. Yeah, that's a good point, Tracy. It really depends on the institution, doesn't it? Okay. It's a fair point. Once the mortgage is portable, then we end up with a, yes, with a different set of calculations, right? Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's a different thing, Mal. If you're not refinancing, if you're just exiting, then that's a different question, right? Because then you do have to pay because there's no opportunity to otherwise pay it. Okay, so fixed and variable rate. So today, pretty tight spread today. Okay. Yeah, that's true, Kevin, right? So, and I have that in the textbook. It's in chapter 3, the blended rates. Yeah. Okay. So generally speaking, and this is very general, this is far less the case than it has been in the past, but fixed rate mortgages, you just have more sort of different terms available. Generally speaking, banks will, or lenders will structure their fixed rate mortgage products first, and then they'll say, well, on top of that, where can we offer variable rates? So you typically have less sort of, I don't know what the, less, a smaller catalog, let's say, less options available for variable rate mortgages. Okay, now I just want to take a moment here to talk about what happens with a variable rate mortgage. So if I'm in a variable rate mortgage and rates change, what happens to my payments? What's the impact on my payments here? Payments actually stay the same, okay? Payments stay the same. What changes here is your principal and interest mix. So your principal and interest mix changes. And so if rates fall, then you're paying more principal. If rates go up, then you're paying less principal, which would be reflected in the amount that you owe on the mortgage at renewal. Okay. There is one narrow exception to that, and that is if rates go up so much that your principal is nothing, that you're not paying any principal with a payment, now your payments do have to go up. Okay, you can't be in a position with a mortgage where your payments are less than the amount of interest you're accruing. That's good. So I know that's a common type of, let's say, misconception for people who don't do a ton of mortgage work. That's why I mention it. It's a really easy thing to trip up non-lenders on an exam question with. Okay, but it really is just changing your principal and interest mix. It would be a minimum, essentially minimum $1, Trevor. Okay. It really can. Nice. Uh-oh, Elizabeth. All right. I mean, it's kind of her job, right? Okay. Yeah, there you go, Olu. All right. Good. Okay, so then the last term I want to address here, this already came up. Okay, I think Kevin, somebody addressed this already a couple times, but no, Stuart maybe, I don't remember, sorry. So anyways, we can have an insured or a conventional mortgage. So conventional simply means, and it's weird because conventional is far less common, right? So the language is kind of backwards here, but a conventional mortgage means that there is no default insurance required. Okay, which normally means, what's the normal sort of criteria for this? mentioned this before. Yeah, that normally means 20% down, although a lender could set a higher amount here. Okay, so the lender could say, we're still going to make people up to 25% down, take out mortgage insurance. That's entirely up to the lender. That goes back to conditions. Okay, and I've heard that this happened a little bit in Alberta, specifically in Fort McMurray in the early 2000s. Okay, where we had a bunch of people who would just sort of default on their mortgages as a matter of course. And financial institutions doing business up there said, we're seeing so much of this that we're actually going to increase the rate at which you have to still insure your mortgage. Okay. That's true. Yeah, so there's, again, conditions there, Stuart, right? Yeah, perfect. Stuart and Ron are on the same page here. So easy stuff, yeah. Okay, that's all good? So insured simply means CMHC or Genworth or Canada Home Guarantee, right? All right. And yes, there is a cost to that, which Baljeet didn't like, but there is a cost to that. You're not getting that insurance for free. Okay. Yeah, so this is another potential exam question, Tracy, right? You're going to have the potential to see something like this. You have a client with, let's say, 10% down available, right? And it's a time value of money problem. I don't have a question like this today, but it's a good question. And you're told that the client can save. It will take X amount of time, whatever it is, to save to 20%. Okay, that's fair. Or it might be a home buyer's plan withdrawal. It might be that type of scenario. Okay, something like that. Or borrow from mom and dad. Okay, whatever it happens to be, that type of thing, right? Versus just take out the insured mortgage. Okay, and I can't remember what it is at 10%, 2.9, is that what it is at 10%? Your CMHC fee, something like that, right? 2.5, 2.9, something in that ballpark. But anyways, that would be a typical type of question here. And don't go memorizing all your CMHC rates, okay? You should know that they're sort of in that sub 5% range. They're not 10, 20, 30%, okay? But don't memorize the table, okay? But it's a fair question, isn't it, Tracy? Yeah, perfect, Stuart. That's exactly right. Okay. Oh, maybe she is. I thought we were asking about this, Elizabeth. So is that, or are you thinking like your life insurance here, Tracy? I can make a brief comment about mortgage life insurance here because there is something that sometimes shows up on the exam around this. So that's what I thought, but if you do have a question where this person has life insurance provided by the financial institution related to the mortgage, okay, so our creditor insurance, right? Okay, everybody's with me here? So if that's the case, this is insurance, okay? So if you get a needs analysis question, there's insurance in place here, okay? You assume it will pay. It's in your needs analysis. You don't need to double insure that risk. And in fact, I would suggest that this is the reality today. I know 15 years ago, it was a whole different story. That's the days of that. Oh no, what was the episode of the Fifth Estate called? In Denial. Thanks, Chris. Thanks. There we go. All right. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I lost the name of the episode. But anyways, that stuff is long in the past. Okay. So what you could have, though, a legitimate question here is, where can I get more efficiency or more flexibility in my financial plan? So you might have a legitimate question here that says, replacing the mortgage insurance gives more flexibility or something to that effect in my financial plan. Is that fair? So you see the difference between the two sort of scenarios there. You're not assuming that the mortgage insurance is bad, but you might be assuming that you could do better than the mortgage insurance. Okay. Right. So that's the sort of heart of the question here, Baljeet, around your options or your choices. Yes. All right. Any mortgage questions? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Ada. Yeah. I don't know if I can bring my notes back here, Ada. Yeah, I did. All right. Yeah, there's about 7 or 8 different calculations I could get you to do here, right? I could say the house value is appreciating at 2%, and how much are you really going to have to save to get to that target, right? So I could do what you're suggesting. I could do the cost of the insurance versus the use of those payments, the use of that saving that extra 10% towards just mortgage payments. There's a whole, it's all time value of money, right? Everything here is going to be time value of money. Okay. All right. Now this is a long question, okay? So this is a question, you're going to recognize this right away. It's a question that has a pretty hefty math component to it. And this is where what I would say on the exam is that you should be taking somewhere in the 5 to 7 minute range. Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 7 minutes, which I know is a long time, but it's about right for a question like this. And we'll talk about the time management around time value of money questions in a moment here, but go ahead, get cracking on it. So for those that are answering already, did you calculate it? I really want to encourage you to actually sit down and do the math here instead of taking a quick guess. If you want to do the guess and then try, that's fine. But I really would encourage you to do the math here, okay? Oh, sorry. You know what? Holy, I have the wrong question. I apologize. That's the next question. All right, we're not taking 5 to 7 minutes here. We're taking 2 minutes. No math. All right. Whew, I was just off in space there with the question. Not this question. Next question is going to be in the 5 to 7 minute range. We'll take max 2 minutes here. Good stuff. All right. I was wondering why people are answering so quickly. Okay, let's just take 10 more seconds here. Sorry. I messed up my timer. Okay, perfect. Let's see what we've got here. So yeah, I get, I'm curious about the wording myself here, right? It's my first time using this question, and I'm interested to see how this works out. So let's have a look at this. Now, a whole bunch of people chose 2 and 4, right? That's answer C. So that's the bulk of our answers. And we'll just jot these down, and then I can get rid of this. So 1 and 2, that's 30%, 9%, 50%, and 11%. And I fully acknowledge that there's going to be some folks on the call who know mortgages better than I do. So I'm also curious to see how that works out. Okay. So what's the sort of heart of the question here? Okay, so pre-approved, right? So what does it mean when you're pre-approved for a mortgage? What does that actually mean? Okay, so we give you a rate guarantee, Stuart, that's right. What does that rate guarantee say? Okay. So kind of, Sunil, kind of the 5 C's are checked, right? What's the problem with that though? Okay, so the 5 C's are checked assuming no change. Is that fair? So first off, there's no impact if rates go up. If rates go down, would you take the rate guarantee? Okay, perfect. So the other thing we see here is that you qualified based on your creditworthiness, your 5 C's, on the day you pre-applied. Okay. But if any of the 5 C's change, including possibly conditions, then your rate, or so then your pre-approval may not hold up. Well, at least Baljeet, if you're a smart consumer, you wouldn't do that, right? And I'm going to assume the bankers on the call have had this experience. You get a client who comes to you and you approve them at whatever, 2.9. And when they come back after shopping around, rates have come down to 2.75. You're going to tell them that, right? Okay. Yeah. So that's it, Baljeet. If rates go down, you do get a lower rate. Okay. So in fact, item 2 here, what do we know now about item 2? Or it's just wrong, Kevin. How about that? Because as it states right there, how is it right, Connor? If rates change, yeah, it does have an impact. It's a positive impact. That's still an impact. Okay. Yeah, I would suggest it does. So no, that to me is not a correct statement. That's true, but the question doesn't ask if rates go up, right? I don't think that's tricky. I think that's valid. I think that's the kind of thing that, and even Baljeet made a specific comment about that. That's the kind of thing that when you see a pre-approval, you say, well, nothing is going to change. No, that's not true. Okay. You can still have change that happen with that pre-approval. Okay. Now you could even make that argument, Mal. It's not impossible that rates going up has an impact on them. Okay. So, Sean, I don't know what to say about that. Good things are an impact and bad things are an impact, right? Does having a baby have an impact on you? Okay. You see that? Does getting a promotion at work have an impact on you? So what I would suggest happens here to some extent. Okay, there you go, Kevin, right? So be careful of the bias that you apply when you're reading the questions, okay? Did your bias here cause you to read this as a negative impact? Okay. Is it that you thought I just should have said negative impact, Connor? Is that what you're thinking here? Okay. So you picked up on that, but didn't actually act on it, right? So you noticed it, but didn't act. And I would suggest that a question is going to be this careful with the wording, okay? So what you should do is do what Connor says here. So Connor said, I didn't like the wording because it didn't say negative impact. So it left a little bit of doubt in Connor's mind. But what you should say is, well, if the question meant negative impact, would it have said that? Okay. Keep in mind, by the time you write this exam, it has been through 3 different levels of sort of confirmation. At least 3 levels of confirmation, depending if it's a question that's on a previous exam or not. But for a brand new question, and it's not confirmed by 3 different individuals, it's confirmed by 3 different groups of people. Okay, that's good. So by the time you see it, there's a lot of thought that has gone into the question. The first group that writes it is very careful. The review group is very careful. Then there's a group of exam writers who wrote it maybe 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, it's about to happen, Baljeet. That's right. Okay. So there's a group of people who are about to write it. including Baljeet, maybe a couple of others. And then there's going to be another review of it after Baljeet and that crew writes it. Okay. That's good. All right. Okay, so we don't like that one, right? So now if I don't like that, what can I do down below here? So now I can cross out both of my two answers. Okay, and now I've got to figure out, so really that means 3 logically has to be correct. Okay. So now, okay, so what kind of check of your credit score? And in fact, who mentioned, Ron, was that you who talked about soft hits before? Okay, so it's true, a hard hit is not a good idea. Who mentioned Apexa before? Chris, was that you? No, I don't remember who mentioned Apexa before. There we go, Chris. I knew it was somebody. All right. So Chris gets a soft hit every month from Apexa. Does that affect your credit rating, Chris? Yeah, I sure can, Michelle. Yeah. Okay. So it's true that generally speaking, and this depends on the exact circumstances, but a hard hit, this is where a prospective lender pulls your credit score. Okay, so really to do this, what would have to happen is, why, Shauna? What makes it a terrible question? Is it unfair? Let's work through the answers and then you can criticize my question, okay? So a hard hit is where a prospective lender pulls your credit score. This is actually not that easy to do, okay? A consumer can't just arbitrarily create a hard hit. And in fact, the lenders on the call are subject to a limitation here, a contractual limitation with Equifax or TransUnion, whichever credit bureau you use, that you can't do this just sort of out of general interests, okay? That you have to have a lending reason to pull a credit score. Is that fair? Okay, so that's only for the prospective lender. A soft hit, this is done by people who aren't necessarily lenders. So you'll see this with, for example, insurance underwriting, or for an apartment rental. Okay, non-lending related hits are soft hits. And these actually have no impact on your credit score. The hard hit, generally, if you get more than one hard hit a quarter, that's where we start to impact your credit score. So if I use like Borrowwell or Credit Karma, Tracy, that's what you're asking about here? That's not even actually going to show as a hard hit or a soft hit. Okay, I can log into Borrowwell or Credit Karma or Mogo, or whichever other one I'm missing, every single day, or even now some of the banks have this as a built-in feature, right? I can log in every single day and yeah, and have no, it won't even show as a soft hit, okay? That's good. So in fact, yeah, it's a good question, Michelle, right? So yeah, your bank app or whatever, Credit Karma, I'll use Credit Karma here because it's the best known of them, although I should use Borewell because it's Canadian, whatever, has no impact at all on your credit score, okay? So you can do this. Now, I actually think Kevin's comment here, so Kevin a few minutes ago made this comment where you said, you're not necessarily going to see changes reflected right away. That's a true story. Okay, I just pasted Kevin's comment in here. It's true what Kevin said, that the sort of the feedback cycle on this is slow and often inaccurate. But that doesn't mean it's not useful, because something that happened a month or 2 or 3 ago still will show up here and will still give me a warning. Okay, if you're going to take that perspective, Kevin, then there's never any point in checking it. Is that fair? Yeah, so why not Baljeet? Oh, no, I see what you're saying. When you log into these apps, okay, when you log into, I see what you're saying, your bank app or Credit Karma, you're getting an abbreviated version of your credit report. Okay. It's not going to be the full report, but it's an abbreviated version of your credit report. It doesn't just have the score on it. It will show your soft hits and hard hits. It will show anything that's in collections. It'll show your current outstanding balances or your most recently reported balances. Okay. All right. It's true, Michael. There is a little difference between your Beacon score and your credit score. They actually don't have direct access to their Beacon score, do they? They have access to a credit score, which is really the consumer-facing version of the Beacon score. The Beacon score is the one that's actually used by the lender, and there's sometimes a discrepancy between the Beacon score and the credit score. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I agree with that, Shika. Yeah, the banking apps show your score. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I could say, yes, I see your point here, Shika, including the score. Okay. I like it, Tracy. There you go. Well, I guess, Kevin, what are you thinking regularly? Are you thinking daily? What did you interpret regularly to be? I actually had a different version of this when I first wrote it. I wrote a couple times and then I thought, that's not great language. So I guess be careful what you assume regularly to mean, right? So, and it's not going to hurt to do that, Pam. Checking it weekly wouldn't hurt. Okay. I don't think it's helpful. I would probably say once a month, something like that, or a couple times in that 90 days, but not necessarily weekly. Okay. Okay, but Michael, you don't know when that 3 months is going to be, right? Is that true though, Michael? Right, that's a valid point, Chris, right? Okay, what do you mean? Sorry, give me the specifics here on that. Because what I know happens here, Michael, if you're thinking like the financial institution only updates every 3 months, that's true. But each financial institution's on a different 3-month cycle. Right, but if there's a problem that shows up on my credit report, Chica, then it's going to reflect on my score, isn't it? Okay. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you about this, Michael. I have had a vastly different experience here. Okay. And in fact, I did exactly this about a year ago. So I went and looked at I'm pretty sure I looked at it on Credit Karma, and I noticed that my phone number was wrong. I canceled my home phone like 15 years ago, right? Oh, okay. I don't know about that. Okay. So about 15 years ago, I canceled my home phone, but that was the phone number that was on there. So I called uh, Equifax. I think it's Equifax with Credit Karma. Anyways, whichever one. I called and I changed my phone number. And I was really more curious than anything. So I called, I changed my phone number. And yeah, a week later, I had a 20-point drop on my credit score. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I guess, I mean, if you're going to have a narrow interpretation, right? Okay. Yeah, that's not surprising, Elizabeth. That's very common, that type of error. All right. Okay, so I would suggest, okay, just to center us again here, maybe remove your confusion, Baljit, that if you have somebody who's making a major purchase like this, they're more likely to stave off any problems by paying attention to their credit report. And Elizabeth's comment here is a good example of this. This is the kind of thing where you're more likely to catch a multiple files problem, which can be a real problem when it comes time to actually go get that mortgage. All right, thanks, Michael. It's not just because we're disagreeing, is it? It's like, as soon as Jason disagrees with me, I'm in another meeting. All right, thanks, that's good, I like it. Okay. All good? So now tell me, is there any reason why 3 is wrong? That's what I'm thinking here, Ron. Yep. Okay. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to, Baljit. Are you buying a house in the next 90 days? Okay, well, then there you go, right? Okay, so what about statement number 1 here? So, yeah, there's no way to know this, right? I just don't see how, based on the information provided, you can know that this is a true statement. Okay. Yeah, you have to pay your bills here, Michelle. That's critical, right? So a really terrible thing to do here would be just to miss a credit card payment. Now, I know that's not exactly what this question says, but I will point out that if they miss a credit card payment, it could sink their whole plan here, right? I like it, Stuart. All right. So, however, even then, okay, we don't know anything. We don't know their down payment. They might have their full 20% down, or they might not be in a realistic position to get to 20% down. So there's just no way you can answer this. Is that fair? Right, exactly, Greg, which reinforces that point. You also don't know their credit card situation, which again, I think makes it impossible to say that one is more important than the other. Okay. That's good. All right, so it only leaves possibly number 4. Okay. Why do we not like number 4? At this point, Baljit, yes, probably making your minimum payments is sort of the the most impactful thing, if you're a year out, then pay down that credit card. Okay. All right. Yeah, now I'm going to show you something here in terms of, okay, because the better your ratios are, Kamal, the better mortgage you're going to qualify for, right? So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, Shika. Okay. So you don't know the conditions under which they were originally approved, right? So it may have been that their TDS didn't allow them to qualify at one institution, so they had to go to another institution. In fact, I'll use Mal's comment from earlier here. Mal said Investors Group is super picky about who they take on for their mortgage business. Okay, that's fair. So it may have been that they were disqualified from using one lender because of a high TDS, because they were at 34%. So they went to a lender that allowed them to borrow it. Sorry, I apologize, they were at 44%. So they went to a lender that allowed them to borrow it 44%, but they could bring that down to 42%. Okay. I agree with Yashika within the context of that pre-approved mortgage. If that's all you're focused on, okay, so if you're qualifying for a better mortgage, Kamal, that's going to bring your rate down, isn't it? Isn't that what we mean when we say a better mortgage? Now, I know there are other things that can make a mortgage better. You might have more favorable early payment terms, or you might have portability. But one of the key things when we're comparing two mortgages is the cost. Okay. Right. So it might open a door that was previously closed to you now, right? Okay. Right. That's my comment here, Shika. Yeah. All right. I'm going to show you a little trick here. I actually did something in this question that you're not supposed to see, but you do see this kind of thing periodically anyways. That's true too, Ron. Yeah, it's a really good point. So again, everything you can do to keep your situation as good as possible is going to make a difference here, isn't it, Ron? So you see in item 4, I have a may here. Okay. And in item 1, I have this sort of absolute. Okay. So this has nothing to do with mortgages or anything like that. There's an absolute statement here. Okay. And here, there's a conditional statement. Okay, and it's a good thing to pick up on now, because that absolute statement, really, it's going to paint us into a corner. It creates this kind of black and white outcome. And we just don't know. The conditional statement leaves more room for interpretation. It's more likely to be correct. Okay, and you just think about how you would answer this question with a client sitting across from you. You're probably going to avoid those absolute statements like I just did, right? Instead of saying, client, this will happen, this must happen, this is the only possible outcome, okay? All right. Not necessarily, Ron. You're talking about on the CFP exam? If you're doing your analysis questions on the CFP exam, conditional answers there are quite good. Okay. It's a fair point, Trevor. Yeah, you could point to no impact on them as being an absolute as well. It's fair, yeah. Okay. All right. Right. So that's my comment earlier, Greggy, right? They're going to be this careful with the wording, just like you see with your PEP marks. Yeah. All right. Now who wants to pick on the question? What would make this question, I don't want to say easier. I don't care about that. What makes the question unfair? I mean, you're honestly right, Elizabeth. Okay, that would be a problem. So if this had been a sort of live use of the question, and we saw only 1 in 9 exam writers get it right, that probably would get the question thrown out. So maybe I have to go back and rewrite it to make it more fair. You're a big sample size too. So yeah, okay. So that's a good point here, Michelle. You will never see that from FP Canada, okay? You will never have a question from FP Canada that asks you what's wrong or what's incorrect or what's false or what's the least true. That's good. Every question they will ask you will be a positive. What's true, what's correct, what matches, that kind of thing. They avoid that negative wording, because the problem with that negative wording is you're then tripping people up not on their knowledge, but on their ability to read what often ends up then as a double negative, or their ability to interpret how the language flows. Okay. Right. And that's dangerous, Michelle. And I'm glad, like, this is a good opportunity to recognize that. So get that out of your head now. That's good. That is an inherently unfair way to test somebody. Are we good with that? That used to be the case on the LLQP. A lot of folks on the call went through, did their life license when the life licensing exam was full of double negatives. Okay. All right. 100%, Connor. Yeah. Okay. So now you're not just trying to answer the question, you're solving this logic puzzle too. Okay. Right. It's a good point, Michelle. Writing a question that's all positives, all yes, true, best, that kind of thing, it is more fair to people who don't have English as a first language. Okay? And in fact, what I will say, I only have this anecdotally, but we've been tracking CFP exam results from our students now for 9 years. And I don't know everybody who's a English as a second language person. I have to make some assumptions there. But in our statistics, I don't see a meaningful difference in pass rates between people who have English as a first language and people who don't. Okay. That's good. So for those of you who may not have English as a first language, I think you can be assured that the exam does try to accommodate for that. All right. Any questions there? All right. It's a good comment, Michelle. I appreciate it. It's a good thing to bring up right here. Yeah, I do like the question, Greg, which is dangerous. What I don't like is to exactly Elizabeth's comment that so many people didn't get it right. That's disappointing for me because, you know, I would feel better if you felt better. How's that? Okay, now I'm going to encourage everybody to do the math on this time. There's math, I promise you. And we're going to take our time here. So I'm going to give you, I'll set the timer for 5 minutes. I'll see how many answers we have in by then. On a real exam, I would say 5 to 7 minutes to solve this question. Yeah, I'll bring it up afterwards. She could just write down your answer. We'll get it in there. It's okay. Okay, we're almost 6 minutes and still quite a few answers to come. About half of you have answered, so I'll give to the 7 minutes that I had suggested before. I'll try and get the poll back for you, Shika. Okay, we'll take about 20 more seconds here. Shika, did it come back for you? I don't know if I can get it back then. There is, yeah, Pam is right. At the bottom of your screen, there's a little polls button. You should be able to click on that to throw it back up there. But other than that, I can't get it back for you. And that's okay. We'll get most people here. All right. I know your voice is important, Shika. I got that. All right. That's good there. Just have some answers flowing in here. Oh, I messed that up. Okay. We'll go through that, Baljeet. That's okay. I'm just going to jot down our percentages here. Okay, so 31% here. We got 31% here. That's a funny distribution. 14% here and 23% here. Okay. All right, so a little more even distribution than last time anyways. And thanks for those that were able to answer. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about timing before we get to any right answer, wrong answer thing. You're going to have a small number of questions like this on your exam, okay? And you might remember me talking about this previously. It's not the first time we've covered this. So for the QAFP exam, and this is going to be true for CFP as well. This actually could be an exam question on your CFP, but on QFP in particular, you're going to have about 95 questions. Okay. And with that 95 questions, you're going to have somewhere around 85 to 90 of them are going to be either non-math or math light. Does that make sense? Where it would just be a simple calculation to do. And they're going to have somewhere between 5 to 10. And honestly, it's probably on the smaller end of that. It's probably more like 5 to 7. Okay, time value of money or otherwise math heavy questions. Okay, is that fair? It's going to feel like more than that. And that's what happens with any portion of the exam that's disproportionately difficult. Is following the exam, you feel like there's more questions of the type you struggled with than questions that you did well on. That's just a normal sort of reaction to that stress. The stress is the painful experiences tend to outweigh the less painful experiences, okay, which some of you might know from dealing with your clients. So the point here is that your time management becomes a little bit of an issue. So what you should be looking at here with these questions, you should be looking at about 90 seconds each, which is, we took 2 minutes on the last question, a little more than that, but you should be taking about 90 seconds each here. And then about we'll say 5 to 7 minutes each here. You can't treat each of these as having the same weight as far as your allocation of time. You're going to have to really manage this a little bit. And this can be a little bit difficult. It's an important thing to pay attention to. If the front half of your exam is heavily loaded with these time value of money questions, you're going to feel like you're going slower than you should be. So do pay attention to how much of that you've seen on the exam. Now, what I don't want you doing and what I don't think is helpful is somehow going through the exam beforehand and counting every question to figure out where the weighting is. Okay, I do not think that's a good use of your time. Your time is precious here. And as much as I think it's good to have a time management strategy and write it down, to some extent, you just have to sort of take the exam questions as they come. All right, that's good. Now, following that, I believe that what is an excellent use of your time when you sit down to write the exam, now you're going to be a little more constrained here because you're going to have this exam environment where you have to, and I don't know how they're going to do it yet, the attention tracking functions or whatever the case is, but you're going to have this exam environment that's going to be fairly tightly controlled, assuming you're writing on your laptop. And you might be, I don't know what the right word is, you might be restricted from really how much you can do that's not directly focused on your screen. But what I would suggest is you take the first 2 or 3 minutes, once the timer starts, okay, and you make your quick set of notes, your exam strategy, for the exam. You write down everything that you know you're going to do during the exam. And I know some of you have heard me talk about this before, but you're going to do things like write down your time management strategy. So write it down how I just said it, 90 seconds per question or 7 minutes per TVM question. Okay, just give yourself that thing to reset back to in case you're going through the exam and you end up frustrated or lost or emotional or whatever it is. You're going to have this thing to reset back to. It's going to put you in control. Okay, is everybody with me there? Do you understand why I'm suggesting that you spend that 2 or 3 minutes before you start answering questions, writing down your exam strategy? Does anybody feel like this is a waste of time? Oh, nobody wants to commit. All right. This makes a difference, okay? Even to some extent, it's an illusion of control, okay? You're going to be in a situation where really you're at somebody else's mercy for 4 hours. Anything you can do to put yourself back in a position of feeling like you have some control makes a difference, okay? Yeah, good stuff, Mal. I appreciate that. That's, I think, helpful for everybody else to hear, okay? All right. And it's just that it's a calming exercise too, isn't it, Mal? You sit down and do that. You say, I know this is one thing I'm going to do when I'm writing my exam. It's just going to level things out for you. Okay. All right. Nice. I mean, that's something you could write down here, although I don't know. All right. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I erased my percentages. Oh, well. Okay. So I think we're 31, 31, and then the other two are spread about half and half. So shall we just do the math? Should we do our mortgage math? You can see that you need to do it here, right? You have all this information to do your mortgage calculation. Let's do it. So here's, and I know that most of you have seen this by now. I'm going to start off with my draw a line. Okay. And then I'm going to, I know what my present value is, that's the mortgage amount. Now, the mortgage amount is going to be how much? Okay, so Kevin's got the, I like it, Kevin. All right, Kevin's worked the, aren't you high there though, Kevin? With your 414, are you not including the 10,000? So, okay, I'm going to start with 410, or sorry, 390, I apologize. So it's going to be 390 at the low end. Now, I know why Kevin used different numbers, and I'll show you that right away. 390 to okay. So it does matter a little bit. Okay. So sorry, Shika, doesn't it just change the rate from 4 to 4.5 if you're using non-traditional source? I thought we were just doing what Kevin just suggested. So anyways, 390 up to 430. Okay. Or sorry, Shika. Yeah, agreed. So we're not quite there yet, Natalia, right? So now we're going to take that times 1.045. Now, if you didn't know the exact CMHC amount, that's okay. Okay, you might have used 4% or 5%. Honestly, it's not going to make a difference in the answers. I think, Stuart, they don't distinguish this. Okay. We can confirm this, but I'm pretty sure that they don't distinguish. They say it's just non-traditional source. Okay. So anyways, anywhere in the sort of, honestly, anywhere in the 3 to 5% range, you're fine. Okay. You're still going to get a similar outcome. That's why I say, Devin, anywhere in that ballpark, you're going to be okay. So you don't have to know the exact numbers, but yeah, you should know that CMHC sort of sits somewhere. It's not 20%, right? I would suggest that's really not a memorized figure, Connor. That sort of, if I say 3 to 5% gets me where I got to go, I think I'm okay there. Okay, but I'm not memorizing the CMHC table. All right. I think what it is, for those asking about, in fact, Shika's going to check for us, but I believe what it is we just can't use the $10,000 to qualify for the 5%. Okay, you have to have 5% of your own money to qualify. I believe that's what the rule is. So anyways, we're going to use a present value based on these two amounts. Okay. And again, if we're a little bit off, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to make a massive difference. It's going to still get us where we have to be. Okay. And you'll see this, that some of you would have used different numbers. And when you see those numbers in here, you're going to say, yeah, okay, I would have got the same answer. So we're going to do 390 times 1.045. That gives us 407,550. That's your CMHC premium, Brad. Okay, including CMHC. right? My math doesn't look right there, does it? Yeah, that's good. Okay. And 430,000. So 449,350. Okay. Okay. And honestly, I don't care if you got it exactly right. Okay, that's what I thought, Shika. Yeah. Yeah, 4.5% really, Baljeet, because, and it's exactly that Kevin pointed out right already, it's 4.5% because you're using some borrowed money, so we crank up that amount. Okay. All right. That's good. I think technically, actually, at the 390, he would only pay 4%, but it's not going to be a huge difference. So we'll just use, because he would qualify for the 5% down with $20,000 on a $400,000 home. Okay. But anyways, we're okay like this. Trust me, we're going to get it. So now, what else goes on to my time value of money line here? Yes, home buyer's plan is, that's your own money, Ron. You're not creating a debt by using it. So home buyer's plan is a traditional source. Yeah. Okay, amortization period, Mal, perfect. So 25 years. Now, I could have had some other amortization period, but I did tell you it's a CMHC mortgage. So 25 years is probably a good assumption here. 3.19%. Good stuff. What's my future value going to be? 0. And what am I trying to solve for here? Payment. Okay. So now we can do our time value of money up. Yep, it sure is, Baljeet. Yeah. Times PY, IY. I know some of you are using other calculators. I'm using the Texas Instruments. If you're using the HP, you're either going to have to use your amortization worksheet, or you're going to have to do a time, or sorry, do a nominal effective calculation. Okay, so okay. All right, let's go there. All right, so my PY, now actually, I don't know the answer to this. Does anybody know, do we actually do this as 24 or do this as 12? The difference is minuscule. Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, and then 2 exactly. All right, times PY. That's going to be 25. IY at 3.19. Present value. We're going to do 390. Payment is what we're going to compute, and future value at 0. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing, and then we're going to do the exact same calculation with the, oh, sorry, not 390 there, I apologize. I know somebody's picking on me for that right now. Rather 407,550, right? Yeah. Okay, and sorry about that. And then, and good pickup for those who commented on it. And then we're also going to do it at 449,350. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to just slide my calculator over here. But that's good. I like the quick answer there. Yeah, if you're doing N, you're going to have 300 in your N spot, Elizabeth. Yeah. Okay. I'm a times PY guy, not an N guy, so whatever. All right, so we're going to do second function, clear time value of money. We're going to bring up our PY and CY submenu. Oh, we got two different answers here between Natalia and Baljeet. Let's see. Not that it actually matters that much. That $5 difference between Baljeet's answer and Natalia's answer is not going to throw off our TDS or GDS calculations. Okay. So PY at 12, we're going to do CY at 2. Those are how I want them to be. We're going to do 25 years of payments. 3.19 is our interest rate. Present value at 407,550. Mortgages compound semi-annually. Very good. That's a universal truth. Right? Good. At least in Canada, it's universal. All right. And 0 future value. And we're going to compute payment. And I get 1969. Okay, good stuff, Shauna, thanks. And then I don't have to get cute here to do the other. Okay, I just have to redo my present value. So I'm going to do 449, 350. Just overwrite my present value, recompute my payment. And I get $2,171. And Kevin, just because you made the comment, I know you questioned how much I have to know, or I think Connor had the same question about CMHC. Right, that's what remember Devin, when I said, when you do your amortization schedule, you're really assuming that what's true for the first 5 years is true for the whole thing. That's exactly what happens. An amortization schedule is always built like that, at least for sort of our regulatory purposes. Okay. All right. Yeah, so Brad, you have to do on the HP, it's so complicated, honestly. You have to do your, and you're okay at that anyways, right? Yeah, you have the same thing, Judy. You're using an HP. And I can never remember the keystrokes. I actually have to do it on the calculator to remember it, but you have to do your nominal to effective calculation. I assume you're using the Advocis material. If you're doing that. Yeah, if you are, and actually I have it too. If you go to chapter 5 of my material, Connor, there's a financial calculator workbook there that shows you how to do the conversion for those that are using the HP. Or if you're using the Advocis material, go to chapter 1. I think it's on page 71. Okay. No, it honestly doesn't, Jennifer, right? So it's not a huge difference. It's a few dollars, right? Yeah, it's so much money, Ron, that little difference is not massive, right? Now, what's the other thing we have to bring in to get to our GDS number? Yeah, I would be surprised at that, Elizabeth. They tend not to be, I would say, that picky on sort of big financial calculator questions. You might get that picky on like a price of a T-bill question. Okay. Why, Shika? Wait. Hang on a second. An EL 738. you can do exactly these calculations. The EL738 has a PY and CY submenu in it. You can do exactly what I did on the screen here a couple minutes ago. There's no reason to do anything other than what I just did here. Okay, bring up that PY submenu. It's even in the same place. It's just above the, I think it is. I have my Sharp here somewhere. I don't have an HP anymore. I went through so many HPs that I just threw them all out. Or that I stopped buying them, I mean, sorry. I don't know where my Sharp is. Okay, but it's on there. That's true, Kevin. If you're a math person, you can do that. Yes, there's no, so Melissa, there wasn't a CY on this calculator either. Okay, I'll show you again here. It's exactly this. You're going to do your second function. Are you with me here? You have a second function in that calculator, right? And then you're going to bring up your PY menu. So second function PY. You still with me here? And then you have those little, the 4 arrows on the Sharp. It's not exactly like this. It's 4 arrows, right? But you're going to use the up and down to scroll between them. You're going to see PY and CY. And then when you enter them, you're just going to quit out of there. Okay. Shika, you got something going on. I'm not sure what's happening with your display. Just minimize your zoom window and then maximize it again. I think you're working with a minimized window, okay? That's true, Kevin. If you're really old school and you're using the old 733, which is the calculator I learned on too, Kevin, then you have to do the math, yeah. That if you have your manual run, you can actually search it. You can go on the web and you can search HP 10B2 Plus manual and get it that way. That's true. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Honestly, with your financial calculator, Ron is right here. If you're having trouble with your financial calculator, go on YouTube. You'll find a video with some 12-year-old kid who's going to show you how to use it. Okay, that's good. All right. So anyways, and in chapter 5, sorry, Connor, to your comment, same place as the homework is, all that kind of stuff. You can access all the course material. I'll show you at the end of the day here. Okay, I don't want to pop over there now, but I'll show you at the end of the day here. Okay, so what else has to go into the GDS calculation? So we have the GDS at the low end and the GDS at the top end. What else has to work into that? Right. Now, I really wondered about this when I wrote this up here, that the heat and taxes have to go in. They're both $250. And I thought, should I write them both monthly? But honestly, property taxes are almost always expressed annually, and heating costs are almost always expressed monthly. Is that a fair comment? Okay, yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. We haven't got that far yet. Okay, I got $250 here, $250 here. So that's our taxes and heating. I wasn't trying to be confusing, but I thought if I write them in any way other than what people are used to seeing them, that's potentially confusing. Okay, so now, when we're doing our GDS input, we get to $2,469. Okay, and when we get to our TDS input, we're $2,671. That's all good? So now, if I'm just doing GDS, I can do $2,469 divided by his $7,200. And what do I get? And you see my comment here about not having to be terribly precise with your, say, CMHC figures, or even how you use your calculator, right? Because if you got whatever, $2,467 or $2,500, you're still going to get 34%, okay? So call it 34.3%, okay, at the sort of bottom end. Or if we go to the top end, 2671 divided by 7,200. Okay, there you go, Kamal, you're going to get 37%. So which of those numbers is potentially in the ballpark? Okay, so the lower range is okay. The top end is not. Now, even the lower range is iffy, isn't it? Okay, the top end is a definite no. And this is going to be on the cusp. That's fair. 30 to 35. Yeah, 30 to 35, Greg. Somewhere in there is where we're going to have our safe. Yeah, exactly. 35 now. Yeah. Okay. So over 35 is bad. All right. So now just looking at my answers. Okay, because for GDS, that's all I bring in here, Baljeet. Okay. When I do TDS, what else shows up in here? That's where I'd bring in the other 1,200 bucks. Okay. So again, TDS at the low end is going to be then 3669 out of 7,200. Okay. And at the high end, we're going to get an even bigger problem here, right? We're going to be 3,871 out of 7,200. Okay. Okay. It's not going to be a great mortgage, Ron, right? Okay, so first off, what about TDS then? Out of range, right? So that's no good. Okay. So now let's go look at some answers. Yeah, exactly. Over 45, we said, was a problem there, Sunil, right? Or 44, whatever it was. I don't remember now, but either 44 or 45, doesn't matter. We're well over that here. Okay. So do we agree with statement 1? Okay, he's offside in all cases here, right? Okay, what about statement 2? No, he's good. It's not ideal. He's just on the cusp here. Okay. Now that actually might be a problematic statement, not enough. That might be a negative. I think that's probably okay from an exam perspective, but just watch that. It's a negative statement. You might not even have that kind of thing, but I think it's okay. GDS. So what do we think about statement 3? okay? He does on the bottom end, right? At the low end, he qualifies. The top end, he doesn't qualify. And what about increasing gross income? And if you're wondering about this, all you have to do is go to the worst case scenario. See, my worst case scenario is bottom right here. Do 3871 over 8,200. So it's a good point, Ron. Yeah, I had noticed that too, actually, as I was reading through the question here, that I do have that sort of absolute statement. Although to some extent, these are all absolute, aren't they? So 3871 over 8,200. But I know what you're saying, Ron. Yeah. Sorry, divided by 8,200. Still puts me at 47%. So that renders that statement untrue. And Ron didn't like that because it is very absolute. It covers a lot of different circumstances. Okay. All right. That's a beast of a question, isn't it? In over 44 or 45, Mel. I just don't remember. My memory has slipped on me here. It's either 44 or 45. Somebody help me out here. 45. It's over 45. Is it, Shika? Yeah, it could very well be. All right, let's go with that. Sure. I can live with that. Okay. I don't think that's true, Ron. If I had, okay, just hang on a second. I want to make sure I didn't miss another comment here. Right, but it didn't work, Sunil, right? We didn't get below 45. So it's irrelevant, right? So I don't think you do, Ron. I don't, well, the 34 is iffy. I guess I see the TDS, GDS figures as something that's more reasonable. Remember what my rule here was. I said if it's a number that changes all the time, then you're not memorizing it. But TDS, GDS, there's that sort of ballpark. I guess what I don't like about this question that pertains nicely to your comment, Ron, is at 34.3%, it's just on the cusp. I would maybe like to get that down to 33%. I don't think that's true, Connor. Is it? I thought I did look it up. Okay. No, CMHC is not just based on down payment, Beljeet. Okay. So his down payment is enough to qualify. Okay. I'm just going to check real quick here. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So if it is, that's fine. It doesn't change our answers, right? So fine, I can knock that down to 42%. It doesn't change any answer here. Okay. Okay. We're still okay there, Tracy, though, right? So even if you only use his $20,000, he's still going to qualify for the $420,000 mortgage, or the $420,000 house, because it's going to bring it down to 400, right? $20,000 is 5% of 400,000. You see that? Right, but he's not financing 420, he's only financing 400 because he has 20,000. So the test is based on how much of the well, that's true. You do need 5% of the full amount, but he does have it anyways. He does have it with the 10. Okay, just using the 10 means he has to use the higher rate of financing. Okay. Well, Jen, he's not going to qualify for the higher end. So I don't know if you have to assume that he goes with the lower end, but we know he's not going to qualify. In fact, he's not going to qualify for any house because of his TDS, right? No, I don't think you have to assume anything here. Okay. That's the whole point, is can we figure out whether he qualifies? Okay. Okay. Now, I don't remember, I want to just wrap up real quick here. I don't remember who made the comment earlier, but there was the question that came up right at the beginning of the day about how much I have to know about credit or what I have to know about credit. I do think that it's maybe a little bit more difficult than you'll see on QAFP, but I think this is a representative style of question that you would now see on the QAFP exam that you would not have seen a year ago. Good? Okay, that's my intention here, Greg, right? I want you thinking about mortgages and how they're going to impact folks. I want you thinking about TDS and GDS. I want you thinking about credit like we saw in the last question. Okay, and this is a lot of stuff that people who went through the course more than a year ago would not have learned. Yeah, you had good comments today, Shauna. I appreciate it. That's always helpful. I thought there was a lot of really good questions today. Okay, the style of questions people were asking were the right questions. Okay, there was a lot of good investigation, thinking about why something is the right answer. I felt like really the discussion forum today was encouraging in the sense of preparedness for the exam. Okay. All right. Connor, you asked me about the resources. I'll show you that real quick here. Any other last minute questions? I can't wait too long here. I have another presentation backed up against this one. So. And I don't agree with that, Olu. I think if your time management is good, you have time for this. I think you have to give yourself an honest shot. I think you can solve this. And a lot of people solved it. 31% of the class did get it right in under 7 minutes, which is enough time. As long as you keep your others to the 90 seconds, right? Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you either in a couple of weeks or in a month. And I'll just pop over to the internet for a second here. Okay, so Connor, you got an email from us that included login information for this website. It's coming, there it is. Okay, so you go here, you log in. If you don't have it or whatever, the chat support's gone. Email Kelsey, she'll get it to you. Yes, I'll try, Olu. All right, and then you'll go to, at the top right here, I'll say check my study resources. Yeah, and that's what's gonna take you right here, Connor, to Moodle. Okay, and then within Moodle, everybody on the call has access to a course called BCC, CFP, and QAFP Exam Prep Content Review. The whole course is in here. So everything that's in my core and advanced curriculum is in here. Just click on that. You see all the chapters lined up. So if you want to go back and review your time value of money, or you want it, whatever it is, it's in chapter 5. There's an index that just sits up near the top here. You're gonna, if you've never logged in here, well, if you use the recordings and you've seen it, but you do have to do the academic code of conduct in order to access it. If you can't access it, it's because you haven't clicked that. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, that's where you'll see the recordings. Okay. Good, but the whole course package is in there. textbooks and so forth. Okay, yeah, thanks, Ada. All right. I've got a roll here. Any last minute questions, concerns, worries, fears? Sandra, it's good to see you. I don't think I've seen you this semester.
Good to see you too, Jason. I have been on some of the calls.
Okay, I don't know if I didn't notice that or what happened there, but it may be very obvious because you're logged in with your email address today.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Okay, yeah. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you all in either 2 weeks or a month, depending what cycle you're on. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra.